Welcome to Sigma Cheats Hub. Let's begin with today's story. My name is Harry. I met Marilyn on a Saturday in late spring. I wasn't searching for anything. I had driven across town to visit my brother Ben, who had convinced me to volunteer at a charity event his office was supporting, grilling burgers, handing out water, things like that. Marilyn was helping at the sign-in table. At first glance, she gave a polite smile, held a clipboard. Nothing particularly memorable. We said hello, made some awkward small talk about the weather and traffic. Then I went back to flipping burgers. If you had asked me her name the next day, I probably wouldn't have remembered. 3 weeks later, I saw her again at a backyard cookout at Ben's place. She arrived with his co-worker Lindsay, who she knew through a networking group. This time she seemed more at ease, glass of wine in hand, laughing like she genuinely wanted to be there. We talked again, longer this time. She asked about my job. Asked about hers. She said she worked as a freelance marketer. I told her I worked in private security management. She nodded like she was truly paying attention, not just being polite. Later in the evening we ended up by the cooler at the same time. She looked at me for a second, then asked if I lived nearby. I said I did, just on the other side of the city. That was it. No flirting, no setup. Before she left, she asked if I wanted her number. I said, sure. She typed it into my phone and walked away. After that we began texting, then a few calls. Then came coffee, dinner and weekends together. It all happened gradually but not in a boring way. More like we were moving with a natural rhythm. Steady. No drama. No games. Looking back, that was the most dangerous part. When something starts quietly, you don't hear the warning signs. But that's how everything began. Marilyn and I dated for almost 2 years. We didn't rush anything. It wasn't fireworks and poetry. It was simple, comfortable and easy. She liked planning things, weekend trips, double dates, themed movie nights. I preferred quiet dinners and sleeping in on Sundays, but I went along because it mattered to her. So, I adjusted. She once told me, "You don't pressure people. You make room for them." I took that as a compliment. We moved in together after a year into a small townhouse on the edge of the city. Quiet, clean, and affordable. She turned the guest bedroom into a home office for her freelance work. I set up a small gym in the garage. We shared bills, furniture, and routines. It felt balanced and practical. When I proposed, it wasn't dramatic. Just the two of us, dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant, and a ring hidden in a dessert box. She cried, said yes, and hugged me like she had been waiting her whole life. We got married 6 months later. A simple wedding. 50 guests in the backyard of Ben's house. Marilyn planned most of it. She was good at details. Colors, seating charts, arrangements. I just showed up, smiled, and said the vows. Right after the wedding, I was offered a management position at a larger security company. More responsibility. Better pay. But the hours were unpredictable. Night shifts, weekend jobs, and occasional out-of-town clients. She told me to accept it. "We'll figure it out," she said. "It's for our future." So I did. The first few months were overwhelming. Training, traveling, meetings, 3 a.m. phone calls. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Just part of climbing the career ladder. Things would calm down eventually. Marilyn picked up more clients too. He stayed busy. I would come home late to the smell of leftover takeout in a dim hallway. We exchanged a few words, shared a tired hug, a kiss, then went to bed. It wasn't romantic, but it felt like teamwork. At least that's what I believed. Now I see that what we had wasn't falling apart. It was already broken. We just hadn't noticed the crack yet. The thing about distance is, it doesn't always begin with miles. Sometimes it begins with silence. A few months into the job, things began to change. Marilyn didn't say much at first. Just small differences. I'd return from a 4-day trip and she wouldn't ask how it went. I'd talk about a difficult client, and she'd nod distractedly, like she was waiting for me to finish. She stopped cooking, said she was tired, and didn't know when I'd be home. So what was the point? I tried adjusting. Came home early when possible. Rearranged travel. But it didn't help. She became irritated over small things, dishes in the sink, forgetting oat milk. She rolled her eyes more, laughed less. One night I came back after a long trip from Phoenix. Delayed flights, reroutes, 3 hours of sleep. Dropped my bags, sat down. And she didn't even look up from her laptop. "Hey," I said. "Miss me?" Without looking, she replied. "You were gone." I laughed, thinking she was joking. But when I looked closer, I realized she wasn't even pretending. That night in bed, she turned her back to me and asked, "Are you even happy with this job, or with us?" I stared into the dark. What kind of question was that? "It just feels like you don't even want to be here." Sat up. "Marilyn, I'm doing this for us. This job brings us stability. The house, the bills, everything." She didn't answer. Just pulled the blanket tighter around herself. Got worse after that. She started making accusations, first as questions. "You ever get tempted out there?" Then as statements. "You probably enjoy being away more than being here." Then one night she just said it plainly. "You're seeing someone, aren't you?" I stood in the kitchen, holding a coffee mug, staring at her like she had grown another head. "No," I replied calmly. "And I shouldn't have to defend that." She scoffed. "Men always say that before the truth comes out." I knew arguing wouldn't help. She had already made up her mind. That was the first night I didn't sleep beside her. A few weeks later, she said she was leaving for the weekend. "Rachel invited me to her lake house," Marilyn said, grabbing an overnight bag. "Just the girls. No drama, no guys, no work." That's what Marilyn said as she picked up her overnight bag. He nodded. "Sounds good. You deserve a break." She kissed me lightly, quick, distant, and was out the door before I finished my coffee. I didn't feel suspicious. Not then. Not until later that night. Around 10:30 p.m., I got a text from Rachel. It was random. She had a question about a patio heater I'd once recommended. We'd talked about it during a barbecue. I replied, "Hope you all are enjoying the lake." Her answer stopped me cold. "What? I'm not at the lake. I'm home." "Why?" I stared at the screen, waited a few seconds, then I called her. "Hey," I said. "Is Marilyn not with you?" Rachel hesitated. "No, I haven't seen her in weeks." "Is something wrong?" "No, just a mix-up," I lied. "Thanks." Then I hung up. I didn't panic. I didn't call Marilyn. I just sat on the couch with the TV on mute, my heart beating steadily. The next day she walked in around noon. Sunglasses on, smiling, holding a caramel latte like everything was normal. "Hey babe," she said, tossing her keys in the bowl. "Trip was great. We should go together next time." I waited until she kicked off her shoes. "How's Rachel?" Yes. She didn't miss a beat. Good. Still obsessed with those true crime podcasts. She wouldn't stop playing them in the car. I nodded slowly. "Funny. She texted me last night. Said she was home." That stopped her. She froze, hands still in midair like she forgot what to do next. "You're lying," I said, not a question, just the truth. She hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the door, then back at me. "Okay, fine. I wasn't with Rachel." "Then where were you?" Silence. "Marilyn." More silence. Then she finally muttered, "It's not what you think." I leaned back in the chair. "Then you should explain, because I'm not going to guess." That was the moment everything began to fall apart. She sat across from me, arms tightly crossed like she was preparing for a storm but trying to look unaffected. "I was with Jordan," she said finally. "You don't know him." "Should I?" "He's a consultant. He works with some of my clients." I stared at her. "So is this work-related or something else?" She blinked. "It didn't start that way." "Did it end that way?" Silence. Then she leaned forward. "You want the truth." "Fine. You've been gone, Harry. Maybe not physically all the time, but emotionally. You checked out a long time ago. I felt invisible. Jordan, he sees me. He listens." I nodded slowly. "So this is my fault." "I'm not saying that." "Yes, you are." She stood up. I'm not going to apologize for needing more than bills paid and doors locked. I need to feel like I matter. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just stood, picked up my phone and walked upstairs. The next morning I called my lawyer. I didn't tell her right away. I let the divorce papers speak for me. When she finally read them, she didn't cry. She didn't even seem surprised. This is what you want? She asked, arms folded. No, I said. This is what you already chose. The weeks that followed felt like a blur. Documents, deadlines, and cold conversations. Every phone call felt like a negotiation. Every decision about what we shared turned into a debate. She got the car. Kept the house. She took part of the savings. I stayed quiet. Every time we had to talk, Marilyn found a way to slip in something hurtful. Jordan actually enjoys taking trips with me. Funny how I don't miss walking on eggshells. I deserve someone who doesn't treat love like a checklist. I didn't respond. I never argued or fired back. I just nodded, signed the papers, and walked away. You don't argue with someone who's already packed their bags. And Marilyn had emotionally left long before we even filed for divorce. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday. I remember because I signed the last document during my lunch break and then went back to work like it was any other day. That night I sat on my porch with a beer, not to celebrate but just to sit in the silence. The kind that doesn't ask anything from you. A week later, 7 days, Ben called. You sitting down? He asked. Just tell me, I replied. Marilyn got married. To that guy, Jordan. I was quiet for a moment. She what? Yeah. Quick courthouse ceremony. Someone saw it on her Instagram. I didn't yell. Didn't swear. I just sat there thinking that's fast, even for someone rushing to erase the past. She really couldn't wait to make it official. I thanked Ben, ended the call and went on with my day. But the universe wasn't finished yet. 3 weeks later, I was at Home Depot buying parts for a broken sink. I turned the corner, and there they were. Marilyn and Jordan, holding hands in the lighting aisle. She saw me first. Her face went pale, then flushed like she couldn't decide whether to be embarrassed or annoyed. Jordan. Let's just say he didn't match the picture she painted during the divorce. He was shorter than I expected, skinny with a patchy beard. His shirt was too big, and he looked unsure of where he was or what he was looking for. I glanced at him, then at her, and I smiled. Just a small, genuine smile. Hey, I said. Hope you two are doing well. Jordan gave a small nod, clearly unsure. Marilyn forced a smile. Yeah, we're good. She grabbed his arm like she needed something to hold on to. Like I was a ghost she'd rather not deal with. All right then, I said. Take care. And I walked away. I wasn't laughing out of spite. I smiled because I finally saw things clearly. She thought she was upgrading. Thought she won. But standing in that aisle, surrounded by buzzing lights and discounted ceiling fans, I knew the truth. I came out ahead. After that day I stopped thinking about Marilyn. Not in a bitter way. Just the way you forget a road you don't drive down anymore. I focused on work, fixed up the house, started running again. No drama. No revenge. Just peace. A few months later, I ran into Stacy, one of Marilyn's friends. She saw me outside a cafe and walked over like we were old classmates. I heard everything, she said, pulling down her sunglasses. I always thought you were too good for her. I gave her a polite smile. Appreciate that. She lingered. Then she asked if I wanted to grab a drink sometime. Just as friends, she added, but we both knew it meant more. Said no. Kindly but clearly. She looked surprised. I'm not looking for reruns, I said. Truth was, I didn't want anything new either. I needed space. To breathe, to stop treating relationships like puzzles I had to solve. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. I've thought about it a lot since then. Not Marilyn, not exactly, but everything she put me through. What it cost me. What it taught me. Here's what I know now. If someone wants to misunderstand you, they will. You can explain, reason, try to meet them halfway. But if they've decided you're the villain, they'll paint you that way no matter what. And if being in a relationship means you have to defend your integrity every day, that's not love. That's a quiet war. Marilyn didn't break me. She gave me clarity. I used to think losing her meant I failed. That maybe if I had said more, done more, cooked more dinners, maybe it wouldn't have ended. But now I understand. She was already gone before she walked out the door. People like that don't want a partner. They want an audience. Someone to cheer for them, to flatter them, to make them feel like they're the star. And that's not who I am. The first time I met Marilyn, she barely stood out. Just another face in the crowd. And now, when I think of her, that's exactly what she is again. A face I walked past, and never needed to look back at. Thanks for listening.